It's a rich man's world.
Mottek Money continues here in 790 KABC. A shocking day today in the corporate world with the assassination of a chief executive of a major company here in the U.S., the chief executive of United Health Group Corporation in New York City. Brian Thompson, 50 years old, the chief executive of the insurance company United Health Group's main health benefits unit, was shot and killed today outside the New York Hilton Hotel, where the company was preparing to hold its annual Investor Day conference. Thompson led the company's United Healthcare division, was shot in the back and the leg outside the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan just before 7 o'clock this morning. New York Times, by an unknown assailant wearing a mask and a light-colored jacket carrying a gray backpack, according to the New York Police Department. Joining us live now is executive security expert Jeremy Baumann, the CEO of Corporate Security Advisors, also known as CSA. Jeremy Baumann, thank you very much for coming to the line on this big story here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And give us your reaction to this assassination today in New York.
Clearly a tragic event. When everyone got the news this morning, it sent ripples through the executive security community. And it's certainly the type of thing that everyone is preparing for. You hope never happens. And just a tragic day. Our hearts go out to the family and the coworkers of Mr. Thompson. Clearly just a tragic and unexpected event.
It looks like security is being stepped up now in New York City following this. They have other big events happening there this evening. And what's your guidance now for corporate executives following this horrifying event?
So, our guidance hasn't changed following this event. As always, anytime corporate executives are in public, the appropriate precautions need to be taken. The appropriate risk monitoring, threat monitoring that is really necessary for any corporate executive should be in place, whether it's after a tragic event like this or at any point in time. Organizations have an obligation to protect their executives. These positions put their executives at higher levels of risk than your average American worker. And so having the right protocols in place, having the programs to be able to monitor for increased risk, increased threat, and to be able to put the right protective measures in place is a basic responsibility for organizations. It's unfortunate that a lot of the people serving in these roles have come up from modest, humble beginnings. They don't feel like they might need these type of protective programs in place. But when we look at the volume of threats that executives from these organizations receive, it really is staggering when you get an inside view at the amount of risk an executive in these type of roles can take on just based on their position with an organization like this. Fortune 500 companies take on an enormous amount of risk just by operating business and serving a broad swath of customers. So from that perspective, the organizations need to have the programs in place to monitor for risks, to monitor for these threats in advance. They need to have the ability to provide protection for their executives when they're outside the primary workplace, whether that's at home, whether that's traveling to special events. Organizations need to be mindful of special events when they're hosting public events, that these are the type of events that threat actors they're looking for when they do want to target someone in an executive role. So having these programs up in advance, having the ability to be able to monitor, and having the ability to scale protection for an executive in this type of situation is really the imperative. And that's regardless of the type of organization that they're with. Because at the end of the day, you can't stand these programs up quickly. You have risks and threats that emerge all the time. And being able to proactively modify the protection around an executive like this is really the baseline for an organization.
On the air live with Jeremy Baumann, the CEO of CSA, a specialist in corporate security. And this was a brazen attack in broad daylight this morning right in front of the New York City Hilton. I've been to that hotel many times. They have very, very large business gatherings. Of course, New York's still business capital of the world, where they do host enormous gatherings of CEOs and business people. Looks like it was a planned attack, according to police. Any other insights based on what you've seen in the news today and the latest reports you might have on how this could have happened and how this person got away?
Well, I think what we've been able to draw from the publicly available information is that this was a targeted attack, and it, as you characterized it, this literally is an assassination of a corporate executive. When you get beyond the actual tragic impact to the family and the coworkers of this individual, you've got the business impact of an event like this, and that's really what an organization needs to be prepared for. You've got the operational impact of losing a valued executive. You've got the corporate value, the shareholder value that can be lost in a situation like this. And so organizations having a responsible level of protection in place to be able to reduce the risk of an event like this happening is really the right thing to do. And certainly don't want to pretend that you're going to be able to stop all bad things from happening, but being able to take a responsible level of protection for an individual like this and for all executives really is what we advocate for.
And that's what people are thinking about following this tragedy. Jeremy Baumann, thank you very much for taking the call here. That is Jeremy Baumann, the CEO of Corporate Security Advisors, also known as CSA. Thank you very much for joining us live here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Record-shattering day for stocks today, with the Dow above 45,000 at the close for the first time of 308 points at 45,014. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also closing at all-time highs. Stay tuned now for the 790 KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang. I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon here on Mottek on Money, 790 KABC.